Good morning, children. How are you all doing? Come on, today we are going to start with our social science lesson number 4, how traders became rulers. And this is the first video. Now, in this chapter, let's begin with the story. The children were engrossed in reading the story of two cats and a monkey during the recess. On reading this story, Jay and Mitali were making fun of each other. Their class teacher, who was sitting beside them, said, "Children, this too is a policy. The third party takes advantage of a quarrel between the two. The British had expanded. So the British had expanded their empire in India with such a policy. This we have been learning since our childhood that always a third party or the monkey is being benefited in the fight of or in the enmity of two cats. You remember in the childhood we learned this story that how two cats they fought over a piece of bread, and the monkey he went on snatching or went on biting one of the pieces till he could balance, and ultimately what happened, on both the sides there was hardly any bread remaining. Thus the cats were left with nothing, and the monkey ate away all the bread. Okay, so this is the story you must have learnt in your childhood. The same thing, same policy was adopted by the Britishers. What did they do? They made two kings fight with each other, and they got benefit from both of them. They used to favor both of them. You understand? In Hindi, there is a saying, चोर को बोलता था चोरी कर और राजा को बोलते थे सावधान रहना. That means they were friends of both the kings, but they used to tell other kings that so and so king is your enemy, you should fight with them. And whosoever the enemy they suggested was, they were friends with that king also. So, in this way, they took advantage of the enmity of both the kings. And let's proceed further with the chapter. Jay asked, "Sir, how is that possible?" The class teacher replied, "Let us go to class and there I'll explain about how the British came to India and established their rule over the Indians." By the mid of 18th century, the British had started to emerge as a strong power on the Indian political horizon. That means they had already set their foot in the subcontinent of Asia or India, and slowly and gradually they started ruling our country. We have seen in the earlier chapter of history, that how they came to India for trading, and slowly and gradually, fighting few battles, they started ruling that particular portion, particular territory of India. Now, do you know that the British came to India only for trade? Yes, of course you know, right? Initially, they took permission to trade in Indian states. Then, how did they become the rulers of entire India? The history of the British rule arouses many such questions. Okay. Now, if we go through the history of India, we will, definitely we are unable to understand how this all happened, or how these Britishers they fooled our kings or took undue advantage of our kings. So, how did they become the rulers of entire India? The history of the British rule arouses many such questions. To serve their economic interest, they increased their political hold on India with the use of British diplomatic tactics. So, to serve their economic interest, what's the meaning of economic interest? That means to increase their economy, to earn more, and to get a political hold on India, that means to rule over India. They used different diplomatic tactics. Diplomatic tactics, as I explained you, that they did not, uh, find any enemy of theirs. They were friends with all the kings. किसी से भी उनका झगड़ा नहीं था, किसी से भी उनको कोई भी fight नहीं करनी थी. Because they understood, they very well knew that if they fight with any king, okay, that king won't give any benefits to them. But on the contrary, if they are friends with kings, they are definitely going to enjoy different, advantages, different profits. So that is why they used diplomatic tactics. Wellesley's policy of expansion. When Wellesley came to India as the Governor General, cutthroat competition existed between England and France. So it was a cutthroat competition. That means, very tough competition between England and France. We saw that the French also were the Europeans who had come to India to trade. So when Lord Wellesley he came as the Governor General, he had to face this sort of competition against the French. It was necessary to check France from becoming powerful in India so as to expand the British rule in India. Wellesley introduced a new plan, which was known as the subsidiary alliance system. Now, as per the scheme, any princely state that accepted the alliance had to keep and maintain the British army as well as keep a British representative in the royal court. So we can say this was kind of an offer, like we get offers on different products, different sales are there in different shops in, festive seasons. So this was kind of an offer to the kings. Now, what was that? What were the rules of this offer? That those who accept this system, subsidiary alliance, they first of all they had to follow the rules. What were those rules? They had to keep and maintain the British army as well as a British representative in their royal court. So nobody else, their own army, the British will employ their own soldiers and their own person, a Britisher, as a representative in the royal court. You know, right? Royal court, जो king की दरबार होती है उसमें बहुत सारे courtiers होते हैं. So in that court, a British representative also will be there. You understand why did they do so? Because if a representative is already present of the British in the court, what will happen? They will never plan any conspiracy against the British. Any, enmity against the British won't be taking place. So this was the first condition. This way, the British could maintain their army without spending any money. So, even if the army was of British, but all the expenses incurred on the army were to be borne by the king. You very well know, right? Lot of expenses are there of the soldiers, of the warfare. Weapons are required, arms and ammunitions are required. In those days, horses were also required. All this kind, even the food and shelter to the soldiers were provided by the king. So British could maintain their army without spending any money. However, the princely states were not allowed to utilize the army at their own will. Now see the trick. Though the army was in the king's court, but they were not able to utilize that army at their own will, at their own choice. That means you understand, they have to bear the expenses of the army, but that army was not useful for them. So why was that army at all? To only take care of the British, and in short, to know what is happening with the court. What are the thoughts of the courtiers? What are the decisions taken by the courtiers? So this system, which made many feel secure in the beginning, made them feel enslaved and threatened. Okay, so you understood. At first the rulers were very happy that this kind of system is helpful to us, but soon they realized that it is not at all helpful. On the contrary, it is making them feel enslaved, as if they are slaves